Thanks everybody for being here. Let's kick it off with some Tell Me Something Goods. Steve, I know you have Tell Me Something Good last Friday, was it?
Last Friday? Oh, I closed.
You closed the deal last Friday. Yeah, round of applause. Steve got paid.
So long ago, it's like, wait.
I know. Yeah, Barry, what do you got?
All right, so I've got two things. One, I just put a land deal into escrow at a 10% commission.
That's a win.
And then the other one is the biggest winery in town just gave me permission to come up and pick up some barrels and wine racks to do a staging of my flip. And so that was a big ask, and sure enough, the owner said yes. So
Wow, that's good. Do something that scares you every day, kind of a thing,
Yeah.
right? But you asked and it worked out. Steve.
Well, those of you who went to EXPCon, it was great, just got back. So one quick tidbit on EXPCon, they changing up the comp plan a little. If you're a capper, it will unlock 5 of your levels for 13 months after you've capped. If you're an icon, it unlocks all 7 levels up to 13 additional months.
Crazy.
great.
That's to tell me something good.
Did they say anything about lowering the cap? I heard through the grapevine that they said
We
something
can do
about
that for you.
No, but I heard they talked about lowering the cap.
Not part of the discussion yet.
Okay.
Yeah. And then since you brought it up. Yeah, and then I don't know if you guys were here, but last week I was joking. I had a listing appointment last Friday with an agent on our team. She's like, "Hey Johnny, can you do a listing appointment with me at 10 o'clock?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely. Where are we going?" She's like, "Modesto." I'm like, okay, that changes the conversation. Like a 2-hour drive down to Modesto series. But we went down and Janae was able to pick up 2 extra listings. So round of applause for Janae. Yeah. And then Haley, who's not here, she got an offer accepted. Was it a buyer, seller? On one of her listings. James on our team's got a new listing, and Jasmine, you're taking some buyers out, right? You got some pre-approved buyers.
Jasmine.
Welcome, Jasmine. All right, so that's it for the Tell Me Something Good. Does anybody have anything, Tom?
Another tell me something good. For those you don't know, the Dodgers are World Series champion.
Oh man.
I almost wore my card. I'm sorry I didn't, but
So that's not a Tell Me Something Good in my world. I had tickets to Game 6, so they won in Game 5.
Oh no.
So-
are you joking?
I'm dead serious.
You had a
He
ticket.
was sad because he doesn't get to go.
I don't get to go to Game 6.
No,
So it could have been the game-winning game, but I was off by 1.
So clearly you're a New York Yankees
Yeah, my dad is a diehard Dodgers fan.
God bless.
So is me.
fan. There you go. He's a
So,
Dodgers fan.
Yeah, so they won. They won.
Next year.
Next year, there we
Just
go.
like the Niners.
Always next year. Always next year. So we have some incredible upcoming events. So Thursday, November 14th, we're going to PCAR and we're flying in Sean Kokoska. He was the #1 MAPS coach for a long time. Phenomenal trainer, and he's going to help us do business plan for 2025. Crazy to think that we're already rolling up on 2025, but that is free. Bring friends. There'll be food. It'll be a good time, and then we're going to have lunch here afterwards as well.
He is awesome.
Yep.
Be there or be square.
Yep.
Great.
Be there or be square. And then next Thursday, so again in this building, we're gonna do is JJ was kind enough to set us up with one of the coaches from American Pacific Mortgage. And so Jeremiah Miller is gonna be coming out and he's gonna help us with the 5-step framework for influence. Now raise your hand if you've been running into objections, something similar to I'm waiting for interest rates to go down. I'm waiting till after the election. I'm waiting for prices to come down.
Till hell freezes over.
Right? So there, if you're hearing these objections, till hell freezes over. If you're waiting for, if people are waiting and you're having trouble getting them off the fence, it's exactly what they're going to be going over, so that we can get people off the fence into transactions, because we all know long term, the best time to buy houses right now. Can we agree? So that's next Thursday. And then following that, just want to reiterate, Cabo, there's one EXP event you're going to go to in any given year. This is the one I recommend. I'm not saying Brent would say that. I'm not saying EXP says that. This is purely Johnny Jennings. And it's because it's a lot of fun. You meet some great people and the content is world class. If they're flying out Ed Milet, he's over 100 grand just to speak. Okay. And the ticket price for you to hear a guy that's worth or that costs $100,000 to present, it's only $600, $597. Okay. So he's going to be there. Tom Ferry's going to be there. There's another guy that is potentially going to be there. Any one of these individuals is worth the price of admission. Plus, it's an all-inclusive resort. It's a fun time. So please, if you haven't already, make sure you get your tickets. The room block is 50% sold out. So if you want to stay on site, make sure you get that room block locked in as well.
And you do want to stay on site.
Yeah.
I did it off-site and immediately had to cancel the room because it was not good. And I'm a pretty tough cookie. And so get the room that they booked.
When you say not good,
I mean, not good.
like the room itself or the travel between?
No, the room itself.
And yeah, so just, I mean, it's worth the money. You're flying down there, you're gonna experience more. When you are on site, you get to climb into a hot tub. There are people who have spoken at Peacock who I met years ago at this Cabo event. And it's because we were hanging out in the hot tub. We're standing in line to eat at one of the all-inclusive buffets, restaurants there. And I'm standing in line, I'm talking to people. These are people who close 100, 200, 500 deals a year. And they share their information freely. You won't get that if you have to leave to go back to your hotel, right, in order to get your food or whatever the case may be. So highly encourage that. And then is there anything else, Jose? Oh, yes, Christmas party.
Here you go.
Today's Halloween, but Christmas is right around the corner. And so when is it?
The 19th.
December 19th.
Oh, big red letter. December 19th.
Jumped out at you.
From 6 to 8, there'll be Santa, there'll be Mr. and Mrs. Claus, and there will be a band, there'll be live food, music. We do ask that, you come and you have a good time. And yeah, so that's December 19th. So please make sure you show up for that. And then I think that's it. Is that it? That's it. All right. So then what we have up next, before we bring up our local lender, Barry want to talk about who's left. So what Barry's going to talk about is Prop 33. So when he comes back, we're gonna do that. But in the meantime, Jade,
Bad timing.
Timing, Barry.
All right, guys, if you don't understand Prop 33, if you don't do anything else on your voting except for vote against Prop 33, you've done a big favor. There's no one connected with real estate ever that has any other opinion other than vote no on 33. And they might not understand it, but vote yes on 34. 33 is so bad that Gavin Newsom and the Republican Party both agree that you should vote no on. I can't think of another time that's ever happened.
Yeah.
Okay, so and then 34 is basically it's designed so that you have to meet 4 criteria for it to affect you. So basically, it's just the company that sponsored 33. So it's a law that basically says you can't use your money that you got back from Medi-Cal for things other than health stuff. You can't use it for these political purposes to come against us. You can only use it for this. So yet a no on 33, yes on 34. It's a brutal law. It will Berkeley, the economist at Berkeley says that it will lower home prices by 25%. That's Berkeley economists saying that.
can you give us a little context on 33 for those who don't know?
It's basically a rent control on steroids that takes the Contra Costa Act and throws it away. It's been on the ballot 2 other times in 2018 and 2020. Both times it was defeated by 60%. And this one's worse than those 2. And so it's a very bad law, very bad proposition that will basically let any city put any kind of rent control on their properties that they want to. And you could very quickly see how that could result, not in right now we have rent control that is limited at 8.8%. I can live with that. 8.8 is not that bad. Go higher than that, you're probably kicking your tenants out anyway, right? So, but this would let them go, you can't increase it more than 1%. This would let them say that you might have to give it back.
So
This would let them change the kicking out rules. I mean, this would let each individual city, 500 different cities, have their own rent control program. There's no way you could invest in the state of California after that, because you'd always be in fear that if you dropped $1 million into California, the law would change and you wouldn't be able to do anything. So this will kill your business. This will kill your investors. If you weren't even planning on voting because you don't like either one of the candidates, go vote anyway just to vote on this, or get another job. And you really should be reaching out to your clients and instructing them. If you want me to, I can send you an email. I basically did a little bit of a summary, sent it out to all my clients, and it needs to happen. You need to go vote against it.
It seems like the push is for low income housing everywhere across the state. That seems to be the push behind 33. If there's rent control unreasonably so that investors can't raise the rent, it's only benefiting low income people and homeless people. right? Is that, am I wrong?
Well-
What's the benefit to those who are pushing 30?
So the guy that's pushing 33 runs a company, an AIDS foundation, right? And he takes his money and buys real estate with it and has become one of the state's largest slumlords. And he's the money behind that whole campaign. Now, of course, any disenfranchised group that wants low rent will line up underneath that, right? But this is low rent at a cost that no one can afford. I mean, again, when Newsom and the Republican Party are on the same flyers, you know that that's an issue, right? So you just absolutely have to vote against this. So,
And you touch on a good point, Barry. Like, obviously, the elections are right around the corner. I would encourage you all to go out and vote. I know we have two crap candidates, you know, candidly speaking, like that's the best that America could produce, or the two like presidential, but there's so much other stuff on the ballot, like local stuff, your boards, school districts, like there's so much stuff out there. So please, and just go out there. I would encourage you all to vote. Take 5 minutes, 15 minutes, do some research and educate yourself on the topics and get out there and vote.
and be the leaders you are to your clients. This gives you a point. You don't have to tell them what to vote for on the high top tickets. Let them decide that. But this is something that everyone interested in real estate can get behind. So you got a chance to be a leader to your clients and feed that opinion on 33 and 34 to them.
And this is something like, I have family members who don't like the two-party system. I get that. And so they're like, well, I want my person, and my person's not in there, so I'm going to write it in. I would encourage you guys, like, do what's right by you. It's a free country. This is the privilege that we have as Americans to get to choose our elected officials, and we get the quality of people that we choose. And if you are not letting your voice be heard, if you're not at least coloring in that little circle on the ballot, then you really like are doing yourself and those around you a disservice. So please, no vote is a vote. No vote is a vote, and so you got to choose who you're voting for. This political minute brought to you by Make for One. Okay. All right. So we got Prop 33, and then please don't boo him just because he's Donald Trump. Don't boo him. Don't boo him because interest rates are 7%. Everybody, please give him a warm round of applause. Welcome up, JJ Mack.
So Johnny said the right thing there. Doesn't matter who you vote for. You can vote for me because I'm a winner. This costume is the best thing ever. I'm a winner. I win. But no, I'm just kidding, guys. I honestly don't really like either candidate either, but we got to vote for whoever you think is the best. And so I was going to say the same thing Johnny did. Just get out there, do your own research, and make sure you vote for what you think is best, because it's going to work. It's worthwhile. If you don't vote, like Johnny said, it's a vote for what you don't believe in at all. And so get out there, vote for either side. With that being said, I do. Yeah. So with that being said, I wanted to give so for the slide we had a couple times ago, Jeremiah. So this guy that's coming next week, he actually does he actually has coached some of the top CEOs of top 500 companies. So he's been around for quite some time. He actually knows a ton. He actually does a lot of when you see him, look at his ears. They're like ballooned up because he does UFC fighting. He's like a crazy. He doesn't actually go into the UFC like ring, but he knows a lot of those guys and he's trained with a lot of them. So he's a crazy guy. You guys will really enjoy him. He's really optimistic about where the market is, and he's going to help you get buyers off the fence and into new homes. So I definitely recommend being here. It's definitely be worth your while. And so tell all the other EXP agents or any other agents at all, just get anybody in here because it'll be worth it, your time and your money. All right, so let's talk a little bit. So because it was a smaller group today, I really wanted to share something that was brought to my attention last week when I was doing a lot of these social. I try and do social media, try and get on Instagram as much as I can, and I pay a decent amount of money for someone to help me with that. So I wanted to share something with you that they brought to my attention that could potentially help you as well. And it's talking about marketing yourself as an actual problem and a solution versus just having yourself known as a real estate agent. I think a lot of times when we go on social media and we do all these posts, it's always about, this is who I am, call me. And so I wanted to give you a quick example of what that might look like, and then you can tell me what might be better. And so if I'm holding my phone up and I'm saying, hey, my name is JJ Mack. I do mortgages with American Pacific Mortgage. I'm a branch manager and a loan officer. I love doing mortgages. I love getting people into their new homes or second homes or investment properties. We have really good interest rates. We have all sorts of different loan programs. I would love to help you. Give me a call today. Or you could say, hey, are you between the ages of 40 and 50 years old? And maybe you just don't feel like you have the retirement that you need to retire by the time you're 62 or 63 years old. I have a solution for you. And I've helped out multiple people that have been in your same situation. So if you're in this situation and you would like to be financially free by the time you retire, give me a call. And also, you might not need as much money as you think.
Wow. Bam, drop the mic.
Yeah. So second one's better, right?
I was about ready to throw up on the first one.
I agree, but that's what we do. And we watch these videos and we scroll through. I know he's a realtor. I know he's a lender. I know blah, blah, blah. But if we can catch that person that needs your help because of a particular problem, and you can be the expert about that, they're going to stop. They're going to watch it. They're going to like it. They're going to comment. They're going to want to go to your page and DM you and ask for help. I promise you it works. I get multiple inquiries every single week because I'm looking for an actual problem and I'm trying to be the solution to it. And so I also try and do that with stories. If you've done this in the past, or if you've had an experience in the past, use that story to help sell them to call you, because that's what people want to hear. They don't want to hear that you can put them into your next home. They want to hear about the person that you just sold a home to. You're the expert because you just did it. You just helped somebody else. And check this out. Joe down the street just did it. Here's the house that I helped him purchase, and he's now going to be financially free because of it. So they know that you are the expert and you are getting him into that home. And so I have, you guys have a marketing room here. We've got a marketing room at our office. I'm happy to film with you guys. I'm happy to give you advice on what to film or what to do. If you guys want to set up an appointment with me, feel free. I'm sure Johnny and Tom and anybody else will be happy to do it as well because they're amazing at it. So, but I think you guys should just do it. Get out of your own heads, film it. Don't even watch it back. Just post it because usually the first thing that you film is usually the best. And so it's even if it has a couple mistakes in it, if you watch my videos, I always say like or a couple times just because I'm a person and it makes you more human. So that's what I want to talk a little bit about with that. And then secondly, I wanted to remind you guys, now we're going into this new year here soon. And as you start business planning, what I'd recommend doing is not thinking about, let me say that's different. I want you to think about new business, but I want you to focus a lot on the business that you already have. The people that are in our pipelines should be more important than the people that we're going to go get later. Those are the people that trust you. They want to work with you. They have already given you all of the, you've already been an expert with them one time. Might as well do it again. Or maybe they're just leads that you've been speaking with for some time, and maybe you've given up on them. I beg you don't do that, because those are the people that you're going to have the most success with. You've had so much success with them already. Don't let them reach out to you, because they won't. You need to reach out to them. Continue to do that. So in your game plan for next year, as you start thinking about this, the one thing I'll recommend doing is finding those past clients, the people that are in your systems, and continue to reach out to them. Because forget the statistic that they have around it, but we all have, if you've been in the business for a certain amount of time, I think it was over 5 years, more than likely you have enough leads and enough people in your pipeline to have you close at least one transaction every single month, as long as you've been doing your job and you've been creating leads throughout those 5 years. We all have enough enough past clients and leads to get us through the years ahead. It's just a matter of how we're going to react with that information. So with that being said, if you would like help with your current database, if you need help trying to figure out, well, how should I call them? What should I say to them? I'm not getting anywhere with them. I would love to sit down with you and have one of my team sit down with you and share with you how we do it and how we can help you continue to have success for this new year with those same clients that you've had in their pipeline. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know it's something that we all, as I look, we have this certain database, I share it with, your ISAs, and they're able to go online and see real estate agents and loan officers and see the transactions that they've done in the past. And a lot of times we'll see that real estate agents stop work, they only work with one client one time. They forget that that person will want to repurchase or buy an investment property or sell or move out of the area. And that person ends up working with somebody else. When we go in there and we look at that database of that real estate agent, it's only about 10% of the time that they're reworking with that same person. It's not very often that they're reworking with them. So I would just beg you guys, don't focus so much on getting out there for the new clients. Really focus in on how can you get into your pipeline and utilize that to help you with your next year going forward. And we are happy to sit down with you and help you with that as well. Any questions I can help with?
What's going on with rates, JJ?
I knew you were gonna ask that. So yeah, we've got some job numbers that have come out and some GDP numbers that have come out, and they've continued to move a little bit worse. And so we're now sitting in those high sixes, even sevens now. I will say that even though it's not amazing for us as loan officers and real estate agents, it is going to work out to our advantages in the future. With these higher interest rates that we have today, first of all, it's getting a lot of real estate agents and a lot of lenders out of the market so that we can be the experts. And secondly, we're able to then get rid of this inflation sooner. If we can keep these rates higher for longer, I don't like that. I'd like to get them lower, but we can keep them higher for longer. It means that the inflation will go down faster, and then we'll be able to get our interest rates back down. So because there's certain things factored into the market with this election, I do believe that if we see a red wave come, we might see interest rates higher for longer. If a blue wave comes, we might see interest rates dip back down before they right after the election. And so you can look at that, and you can be thinking about that throughout this election. If Democrats get elected, we might see interest rates start coming down sooner because they're going to put more money into the economy. If you have a red wave and a Republican elected, then you're going to see less money invested into that. They're going to try and cut so that way that they can get rid of that inflation. So it's just a difference of opinions there, but that's kind of where we are with interest rates today.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
Forgive me, just on that point, I get the larger philosophy, but it seems like the Republicans, rates were lower when there was a Republican in office, whoever that was. So is that not part of the strategy? Are those two things counterintuitive? Like you can't cut and still lower interest rates?
Well, it was a different time in the market, right? A lot of that time was through COVID. And so we were coming up on COVID. And at the time,
Officially keeping the rates down.
right, through that whole time, we were investing money so that people could, we were putting more stimulus into that economy. And they needed to do that because of where we were. Also, before COVID, we had a really good economy to the point where we were actually starting to put money towards our deficit. And so now we're in a completely different position. At the time, we were in a good position where we were starting to pay off our deficit. Now we have a very high deficit. And so it's a completely different time in the market. If that changes, I think we will see interest rates come down quite substantially, but it's just going to take some time to get there. Yeah. But yes, go out and vote, please. It's worth your time, I promise. Thank you, guys.
JJ. All right. So I heard a statistic the other day about social media. JJ's talking about social media, and like I see so many agents trying to post their way to, prosperity, posting to prosperity on Instagram. And if it worked, then everybody in this room would probably be a millionaire, right? But the problem is that what the study found is that it's statistically irrelevant if you just post and get off. If you're just posting and getting off, where you get the juice out of those posts and where you get the value is if somebody likes it somebody comments on it, DM them, reach out to that person. If you know them personally, give them a call. Now all of a sudden you're creating a relationship and you're creating connection beyond the post. And so as you're posting, as you're doing the things JJ recommended, if you see anybody like it, if you see anybody comment on it, reach out to them directly. And according to the study, that's where you will actually see more bang for your buck. All right, so enough with social media. The thing that we are going to be discussing today is SB 721, SB 326. Sounds like a political platform or a proposition, but it is not. And actually, Stephen with Good Life is going to be presenting on it. So everybody, please give Stephen and Jen a round of applause.
Wow, my goodness. And this is Stefan.
Sorry,
Keller.
Stefan.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
So Jen Finley, it's actually with Good Life now. North American is our former name, but we had to keep this division of our company in the North American name.
Because of SB 721.
Yeah, there you go. Has anybody heard of this SB 721, 326?
Interesting.
Oh,
Really cool.
wow,
All right.
okay. Do you have the clicker?
Yeah.
We're gonna go to why it came about.
We're gonna get through this pretty quickly, so check pause it for a second.
California, the death toll in Berkeley growing at least.
We're gonna get through pretty quickly. I'm gonna touch base on the laws, what they are. Very political. The spirit of the law is to protect human life. Obviously, there's people funding these laws and lobbyists and all the other stuff. The law was crafted in a vacuum. So the people in the legislature that are crafting this law never communicated with the people that enforce the laws or actually work in the trenches. So the law doesn't necessarily work well at the end of the day. So it's a little dysfunctional right now. So that's why the information is important. At least we're seeing this come across in the multi-unit market right now, condominiums, HOAs, and stuff like that. We touch about 600 properties a month in Northern California dealing with these SB 326, 721 inspections. So if you haven't heard about it, there's a good chance you will be hearing about it in the next 6 months to a year or so. Sorry. Thank you. This is how it
To
started.
turn now to that deadly balcony collapse in California, the death toll in Berkeley growing, at least 6 people killed when a small balcony crowded with people collapsed. The dramatic images
a new
tonight, that
building.
balcony before and then after, landing on the balcony below, the people on it then sent plummeting 4 stories. Those students celebrating a 21st birthday party, and tonight questions about the construction among them. Was that wood treated and was it a factor? ABC Cecilia Vega in Berkeley tonight.
The 4th floor balcony was packed with partiers when it came crashing down overnight.
The balcony broke.
Students, many visiting from Ireland here to work for the summer, falling more than 40 feet to the street below.
We got 3 patients on the ground, need treatment. They're on back floors, but need that for treatment.
Emergency crews racing to the scene just blocks away from the UC Berkeley campus. Fellow students heard the horror.
I was just a loud crash and then silence for a couple of minutes and then just scream. That was all I heard really.
The building, not even a decade old. Here's the balcony before and after, completely detached, perched precariously on the balcony below. 6 people now dead, 7 other students seriously injured.
You think 13 people were on this balcony at the time of the collapse?
Yes,
That's a lot of people.
yes. Right now, we're just trying to figure out what caused this collapse.
The weight limit on that balcony, 3,000 pounds. The 13 students would have had to weigh more than 230 pounds each to reach that. Experts say dry rot may have weakened the wooden joints if they weren't properly sealed, water soaking in until the wood was ready to snap. Witnesses say those students were all celebrating until it ended so tragically.
One of the girls had blood on her knees. A couple of the girls had no shoes because they couldn't get back into the apartment.
They told you they were here celebrating.
It was the 21st birthday party.
That balcony is still hanging out here behind me tonight. The other balconies in this complex off limits as investigators try to find out what happened out here. The owners of this building releasing a statement to us tonight, David, saying that resident safety is the highest priority.
So that happens in a city like Berkeley, which is probably the most politically charged city in the United States. I was at that collapse 48 hours after it happened. I sat as a professional witness in that court case for 4 years. When we showed up on site, you were expecting a converted wooden Victorian structure, Berkeley, Oakland, right? Wood, 120 years old, So when we pulled up and it was a new stucco building, it was shocking. It was built in 2004. It collapsed in 2015. 2004, it was a fancy, new, pretty stucco building. If you've gone to downtown Sacramento and you could see the Victorians and they convert them into fourplexes, and oftentimes they do a pretty good job of maintaining the front of the buildings, sometimes the back of the buildings. The stairs have been worked on a number of times over the last 60 years, and you can imagine there being rot or something like that. That collapse happened because of dry rot. The collapse did not happen because of engineering. We, our organization, we have 6 different organizations. We have 250 employees. We have 3 engineers on staff, 4 drafters. We have 7 licensed contractors. We have 150 carpenters. We know everything there is to know about building commercial and residential homes. It's what we do. Dry rot. Nothing within engineering. When you go to work on a property right now, you go to Placer County Building Department, Rockland City Building Department, Sac City Building Department, you have to turn in calc sheets that are this thick with all these mathematical figures on it, right? Calcs. But nowhere when we build is there a spot for waterproofing and waterproofing inspection oftentimes. So the integration, this is true in homes as well as multi-unit buildings, as well as skyscrapers, right? So they spent all this time and all this money doing this fancy engineering. You could put a Mack truck on one of these decks in Folsom or El Dorado Hills or Elk Grove or any other place like that. But how it actually goes together, the size of the lumber, it's all good. How it goes together. That was the southern exposure on that building, which is the weather side in this part of California. So if you went to the balconies on the other side of the building, you probably didn't have too much problems with water intrusion. When we do a inspection in Wexford Estates or Los Lagos or Serrano or any other part of Sacramento, oftentimes the bigger decks and balconies in this region are in those areas because you've got views, you're overlooking the lake. So you don't have a lot of proper flat ground like in Wilton or Elk Grove. You have a big deck that gives you views. And depending on which way that house is facing is going to determine which way you're going to have rot, weathering, and all that other stuff. So we will do an inspection on a property. If the deck is on the non-weather side of the building, it's usually pretty cool. There's not too many problems. If it's facing the weather side of the building, south, southeast here in Sacramento, then there's an opportunity for water to get in. That was dry rot. So when we got out, it was framed a 2x10 joist on 18-inch centers. And the 5 joists that were right in front of this French door were completely rotted in half. There's a thing called a live load. So when the people moved out toward the end of the balcony, the load shifts from the beginning of the joist to the middle of the joist, and that's where it snapped at the end of the day. But it was rot. We create a microclimate in California on all these builds. That doesn't happen in New York City. Oftentimes we build with, concrete and steel. But we like to wrap things in stucco here. We wrap them in stucco in Florida too. It looks pretty. It looks new. It looks fancy. So we take this wooden frame structure and then we're supposed to put some type of a waterproofing on it. And then we wrap it with this stucco. And the stucco hides the wood and it makes it look pretty and it looks new and it's California and terracotta roofs and Mediterranean look and all that other stuff. And then a little bit of water gets in and it can't breathe. And what would be on an outside deck that's not wrapped in stucco would take 25 to 30 years to rot to that degree that you saw in that picture, rots in 4 years. A little bit of moisture works its way in, and then it heats and cools and heats and cools, and then it condenses and it creates a greenhouse effect at the end of the day. So they super rotted that stuff that was inside that soppited area. The idea of the law, it's loaded with politics once again. The idea of the law is to do an inspection. We've been doing inspections on balconies and railings and safety stuff for 30 years in California. This is not new. It's not new. Inspecting stuff for safety is not a new idea. The idea is you're supposed to be looking at a representative sample. So there's 2 laws. The one law, SB 721, goes to multi-unit structures. 3 or more units. They do not look at the common areas. 3 or more units, anything that is elevated, made of wood, elevated more than 6 feet off the ground. They had an initial deadline of January of 2025. That wasn't realistic. There were a lot of companies that were painting contractors and handymen and non-inspection companies that jumped into this as a money grab like a year and a half ago, and they were charging $3,000 a deck, $4,000 a deck, $6,000 a deck or balcony. A fair price is probably $200 to $350 per deck and balcony. Go out there, you drill, you're supposed to identify the wood members, see if they're rotted, see if there's compromised, report on it. There's a lot of liability when you sign off on this stuff, right? The idea is you're supposed to look at the stuff inside those wrapped stucco areas at the end of the day. If it's not wrapped in stucco, you're supposed to be inspecting it to make sure it's not compromised. SB 721 extended from January 1st, 2025 to January 1st of 2026. Did they do this looking out for the property owners? No, they don't care about the property owners. Sorry. It created liability. When you dig down in it, I get to meet with code enforcement. I teach classes for code enforcement all over Northern California. They weren't equipped to start doing the inspections for compliance January 1st of 2025. I spoke to the state attorneys, county attorneys, and like, wait a minute, if there's a collapse or someone gets hurt from one of these things, who owns the liability? Well, I guess the building owner, right? Hopefully they have insurance. They probably have insurance. And then you've got the property manager, building owner, property manager. There's been no case law established in this world yet, but there will be, because we're in California and everyone sues. And as soon as they establish a precedent, the third party in line is the code enforcement people. So the counties and cities are responsible to check on these things. So they said to me, if something were to collapse in May or June, and there wasn't a compliance inspection done out there, that means that the local cities or counties could take on exposure and or liability for not doing their job and checking on it. So magically, an extension got created. The multiple IRM, NARPM, there's all these associations that represent property managers. They have been petitioning for an extension, but that didn't work. As soon as the counties and cities got involved and said, we can't handle it, we're not going to be ready, they did an extension at the end of the day. So find a reputable company. It's a representative sample. You don't have to look at every single deck and balcony. It's 15% of the total sample at the end of the day. That's SB 721. SB 326, HOAs, condos. This one is messy. This one is scary. This is the one where I've sat in board meetings that I don't want to sit in. So I didn't write the law. I don't even necessarily like the law. I do like people not to die, right? I do like the spirit of someone keeping an eye on their property, which they should anyway, because if it's an investment property, you should want it to be safe and not rot and all that other stuff, right? But the HOA stuff is rough. They're looking at a 95 percentile, right? So if you have a 200 unit complex, a 400 unit complex, an 1100 unit complex, and they haven't necessarily planned these inspections at 95% can run $250,000 a pop just for the inspection. $500,000, $2 million, $3 million. They didn't set that money aside. They budgeted for other capital improvements. They budgeted for landscaping. They budgeted to do the asphalt. No one budgeted this money to do the inspection and to do repairs to the subsequent findings at the end of the day. So when you're sitting in the HOA right now and they have to do, just a contractor guy, they typically do a 3-year, what's it called? Every 3 years, they do a assessment. It's not an assessment. What's the proper vernacular?
Tax assessment?
No, gosh darn
The
it.
budget review?
Not the budget review where the guy comes out, like Browning is a company that comes out and they do an analysis of the property. It's not for tax bases, just like an appraisal. I will get it back to you. Every 3 years, they come out and they check on the property and they allocate funds and resources predicated on the findings of that. Well, this is the box that's going to get checked on that thing that happens. A reserve study? Reserve? That's it. Knew I'd get it. Reserve. Again, I'm looking at the head guy that does this. I think his name is Browning. He's a very fluent man. He went fishing with us in Mexico. Anyway, sorry.
Who has to set aside the reserve, the owner or?
The HOAs, right? So,
All the owners.
oh yeah, all. all the owners.
It's a mandated.
And he said to me, he goes, imagine being in California, even your smallest little HOA is worth like $1 million, right? $1 million is a lot of money. You have 3 units that are together. That's a lot of money. So imagine this. And when they haven't allocated the resources for the inspections or the findings, and someone goes to buy or sell, this seems to be coming up once in a while right now. They're like, hey, we need to get funded on this loan. Is the property insurable? It's coming up with their insurance right now. We had a property in Rancho Cordova we did an inspection on as a termite and home inspection company. They're asking us, hey, is it compliant with SB 721? This is multi-unit property. And we're like, hey, we're not involved with SB 721 in this capacity. I'm a termite inspector and home inspector, so I'm staying out of that. They came to us on the back end through the other business and said, hey, we want to know if it's compliant. And I'm like, it's not compliant when I put that other hat on, right? And they did the inspection because there was so much damage out there that the property owner said, I'm not going to fix it. I'm going to sell the building. And that's their right. They could sell the building. Yes, sir.
So are they gonna pass that on then to?
It never sold. It was $750,000 worth of damage. And it's a property that was 65 years old, that was old military housing by Mayfair Air Force Base that hasn't been painted in 61 years. Not a shock. Caulking, 20 years. Paint just hasn't been taken care of. It hasn't, it wasn't shocking anyone. The maintenance guys, you know it's bad when you're walking up as the inspector, and the maintenance guy is just like, hey, you don't want to look at 22, 24, and 29, man, and walks away. Because he's worried about it. Like the tenants are bugging them all the time. It's a very fine line between those things, right? So you want to report on what's going on there, but the property owner, who does not live in this country, by the way, lives in China, was just like, I'm just going to sell it, and went to sell it. And when they got into a deal, they were going to get financed on it. And they actually asked the question during that process, is it compliant with SB 721? And it wasn't. So they ended up spending the money and raising the rent, which cool. Barry's bill that he's talking about, if you don't vote on anything else right now, as a property owner, as a person that likes to work with investors, vote on that bill. That is absolutely disgusting. It does not make sense. We are working on 65 properties right now. We have 2,000 units going on. We're doing $26 million worth of repairs in Sacramento, Stockton area right now, fixing decks and balconies that are collapsing. But they're looking at the positive side of it. The asset managers, the trust people, the building owners, they're increasing the rent because they are beautifying it, but they're making it more safe. And you know what? The tenants, most of the time, are like, hey, it looks awesome. We have new safe balconies. I'm not saying all of them, but I'm saying a lot of them are completely fine with paying a couple extra bucks to accommodate what's going on these properties at the end of the day. SB 326 condos. That deadline is January 1st, 2025. That's a thing that's happening right now. SB 721 is multi-units. That's January 1st, 2026. The longer you wait to get the inspection, the more expensive it can get because the people's schedules get backed up. We're backed out about a month right now. We have 20 inspectors. So it's pretty busy time. Any questions on that stuff?
You said, I saw the thing that it was 3 triplexes and better,
Yeah.
anything over 6 feet.
Yes.
So I'm assuming that those 4 plexes that have, the stairs in the middle, all those have to be inspected.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
We collect some of that money. They're obviously adding it to the HOA payments to the owners.
Yes.
So a lot of our people that have purchased condos in the past, they're probably going to expect to see some higher HOA costs.
Yes. And what's been tough is we've done the inspection. We'll have a 61-year-old ex-Marine who is semi-retired, and he goes out and they have a wood deck with pressure treated lumber underneath and wood deck on top and pine trees. And he sweeps his deck every single day. No pine needle stuck in between the 2x6s, right? Every day for the last 10 years, sweeps. Then there's a 26-year-old who's a gamer who smokes a lot of weed and travels 3 weeks out of the year selling 3 3 weeks out of the month selling pharmaceutical stuff. I mean, puffs of weed coming out while we're doing the inspection. And I'm like, hey man, it's okay if we get on his deck? And he's just like, yeah, bro, I don't care. Like, whatever you want to do. Guy's making money. He hasn't swept his deck in 5 years that he's lived there. Kid's making money. Old man sweeps his deck all the time. Like I sweep my deck all the time. Kid doesn't sweep his deck. Kid has $25,000 worth of damage to his deck when we do the inspection. Old man has no damage to his deck. We're asking old man to contribute and pay for the kid's deck that hasn't been maintained. That's where it gets contentious when you're all sharing the burden of that. The HOA handles the stuff usually like outside the walls and common areas and painting and all that other stuff. Well, these decks and balconies are usually the HOA's responsibility. So when the old man that's been out there every day sweeping his deck, it's like politics, right? Like it's politics. You're asking us who are working and paying taxes to subsidize people that may not be working and paying taxes. It depends on the situation. The old man's point is there's nothing wrong with this kid. I'll come out, he smokes weed all day and plays video games and travels a lot, right? He's not in a wheelchair. He can sweep his deck. It's politics, it's all politics. Any other questions? If the writing is on the wall and we see what's happening with insurance right now, we just did a job for a little old lady up outside of Placerville who was 91 years old. She's been in a house for 31 years, a stucco house with a terracotta roof and some insurance. I think they are in a fire zone. An insurance person drove out to her house, like an insurance appraiser person, that said she has stucks in her ephes in her stucco, cracks in her stucco outside the house. And she's like, okay, what do I need to do? He goes, you need to restucco the house if you want to keep your insurance. And we could caulk it, we could seal it, we could paint it. Her husband died 2 years ago. And I wrote, as an engineer, we wrote a structural observation that it is not allowing moisture into the house. The insurance company said she has to re-stucco the house, skim coat the house at $31,000, re-stucco paint, do all the dry rot, all the water stuff, all this other stuff. And I tried to help this lady fight it. That's not money I want. It's not money that I need either, that we need, right? I don't want her money. That didn't feel right. The water wasn't getting in. They wanted a reason to kick her off of that insurance. So in a roundabout way of answering your question, I see the liability maybe whipping around in the next decade or so to do the single family residence thing. We have the same thing happening at single family houses all the time. It's like the number one pain in the ass thing with the really nice properties. It's usually the properties that are over $1 million, that are in affluent areas, that are overlooking, Folsom Lake on this side or Rancho Seco on this side, and there's no roof on it, and it's 1,200 square feet, and there's a lot of water hitting it, and the sun's baking it, and all that other stuff, and we'll see cracks that stuck underneath. And this is a deal cruncher too, because we're like, we could write a note on there and put further inspection, but no one in the real estate transaction is typically looking at the further inspection thing. We teach classes on that. We are typically trained. I've been doing it for 33 years with agents. When someone sends me a termite report, my eyes go right to the section 1, $5,000. I could beat that price. Send my guys out there right now. I go to the section 1. I don't look at the section 2. I don't look at the notes, and I don't look at the further inspection stuff. That further inspection stuff, that 5A, is what creates massive headaches in the real estate community right now because they're big ticket items. They're not $200. They're not $3,000. They're like 30 grand and up all the time. If there's one thing that you could look at, make sure there's no further inspections on decks or balconies on big houses, because those are the ones that could be tricky right now. Any other questions? Anything at all? Thanks for having us. Call your life for your next inspection. Oh, hey. Yeah. So, and here's what's so tricky. Like some of these things we opened up, and as a guy that's been looking at this stuff for 30 something years, Jen, can you go ahead? There's a better, like this one, we were underneath this. There were no cracks. There was no water stains. Like the water was leaking out of the light so quickly, it didn't have a chance to sit there and like rust the framing on the light. This stuff though looks absolutely positively fine. We didn't find this until we did this SB 721 and we drilled holes and we looked up, and then that's what these people are standing on. There was a quinceanera at this house with like 15 people standing on that thing like 2 weeks before that. That is terrifying. That now this is for impact, right? It's not all like this. It's not that, but it can be that. So this is kind of the idea of the law is to check. This is Stockton. You wouldn't, the only thing holding this building right now, the front of this building is this stucco right now. This is completely rotted through. So the stucco is hiding it. It's making it sweat. It's not allowing the water to get out. And you're getting rot into these areas. It's the same thing. This was just like that, where we couldn't see any damage until we stuck the scope in there. And then it ends up looking like that. Yeah, this is, so here's what's freaky, right? This is that. This thing that's completely annihilated and rotted is that balcony. I don't care how long you've been inspecting properties. I don't care how long you've been doing this. There's no way anyone would tell me that you would be expecting that to be inside this place. Yes.
So, of course, from an outside perspective, you can tell that there's so much damage underneath.
Yeah.
So when do you then make that decision?
We use a camera. So in this SB 721 law, we take 15% of the total number of these balconies, and of 15%, we use a camera and we drill in. It's a hole about the size of a pen, and we use the camera and we look in. And when we looked in, we saw this going on. And then we made a recommendation to open it up so we could see how far it extends. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Only on 15% of the buildings, you do that?
On 15%, so of each, so if this is a cantilever balcony, we would look at, if there's 100 of them, we look at 15 of them. If of the 15 that we're looking at, now mind you, the law doesn't say this anywhere, by the way, the law says 15%. The rest of it becomes company policy. When more than 50% of the 15% we looks at looks like this, we make recommendation to open up 30% more of the balconies at the property.
Forgive me, just, so
Yes.
it's 15% of the balconies on any particular building?
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
and if that sampling turns out to be bad, then
Yes.
we're gonna go further.
Yes.
And it's 95% on HOAs. So that's.
Yes.
For HOAs, you have to check 95% of the building,
Wow.
where
Yes.
multi-units is just 15%.
Yes.
That's dangerous.
We go next slide.
Shows nice ones, I think.
Well, no, we have nice ones.
We want to show good ones, so you weren't.
Yes, I mean,
Good job.
There's plenty of balconies that we look at that have been worked on, that have been done well, permitted and or not permitted. They're not unsafe. Yes.
So question for you. So, I mean, this is with the construction we're using now where it's wood, but do you think there's gonna be a chance where it changes where they go to using?
Yeah, metal. Yes. A lot of the new construction that's going on right now is metal. If you go up and down the 80 corridor, you can see them using metal balconies.
So it seems pretty clear that just the fact that there's exposed to air so that it can dry out prevents it.
Yes, yes, like a good old, this guy, give me this guy all day long. I can walk under him. It's not as pretty, I guess, right? I could see what's going on. I could poke it with the probe. You can make sure that it's cleaned out in between. The water runs through it. So even if you're not a great job of painting this thing, this deck lasts for 20, 25 years, just because the water goes on, through, and out. When we wrap it in stucco, it sits in there. And it is truly like a greenhouse. Next slide, Jenny.
Show the video of the. They're also really good.
Yeah.
Um,
Boring.
But
Boring.
if you could play, is this one good? This one, you play this one?
This is in Davis, property we worked on a couple months ago.
Here we go. We opened up another balcony. 6 by 12.
This is a really nice complex, by the way.
Got some
You would have no idea.
wall and stuff
Stucco looks great.
goes all the way to the ground. Oh, this is our shear wall.
You have to stop picking the stucco off.
Studs
The stucco was holding it.
and our beam. 6 by 12. Go on top, see what we got. So
It's always the same areas that rot. It's the perimeter where the water can get in from the railings or from the building. The middle of these balconies are usually in decent shape. You're gonna see that right here.
water was damaged. Doors were damaged.
So that beam's bad, that beam's not awesome.
To the wall, steps or stairs are connected to.
Perimeter bad. But this middle part, not so bad. It's where the water works its way in. It's the same thing over and over.
So is the message no more stucco, or is the message better ceiling for the stucco?
More consistent ceiling, better building standards and waterproofing in California. When you go to like a place like Seattle, they actually have a spot on the, if they want to do a law, right? Make sure that where the paper and wire, metal flashing, make sure the building inspector, when he's going out to sign off and he does his frame, they'll do a lath and paper sign off, but they won't check the building flashing detail. And there will be a note on the bottom of the job card on the building, Sac City, Sac County, Placer County. Interested parties to contact contractor for waterproofing, warranty information, questions, blah, blah, blah. They should be actually looking at to see how is this, I can't tell you how many home inspections you do or termite inspections. We'll go and there's no flashing detail. I don't care if the house is,
Can you define flashing detail?
Yes.
There's not inspected.
when they're, yeah, when we're framing a building and it's a single story that turns into a two-story building where the framing meets for the wall here on the two-story part meets the wood framing for the roof part. There's supposed to be metal flashing that connects those two places.
Middle corner.
Yes, yes, it's usually a 6-inch flashing, 6 inches metal flashing that goes up the wall and then out. And then, right, yes. And then the roofers are thinking that the framer's doing it, or the framer thinks that the stucco guy is doing it, because stucco guys oftentimes do the flashing. Then the stucco guy thinks that the roofer's doing it. So guess what? No one does it. And it probably happens more on custom homes than it does on spec homes. Like homes that are built by large builders usually have a 55-year-old man with an igloo every day, and he's walking the jobs and he's checking the framing, the wiring, he's QCing stuff. The big fancy houses, sometimes the ones that are over $3, $4, $5 million, oftentimes the builder's sitting in office somewhere in a cubicle and he's not actually swinging a hammer out there. He's not on the job watching to see what's going on. Someone thinks they're paying $5 million. It's the same stucco dude that's working in Elk Grove is working in Serrano, just so we all understand that. Same framer dudes, oftentimes, same guys. Someone has to be a quarterback. Men are not great communicators. Contractor men are not great communicators. So it's not a stretch for someone to forget the flashing detail or waterproofing at times. So that's what they could do if they wanted to spend time writing laws, add that to the local city and building ordinances so that they're actually checking the integration points of waterproofing on a detail, on the building inspections. That'd be way smarter. That's all we got. Any questions? Jen, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I believe, I am a realtor, but I'm not in your documents and whatnot, but I believe there is a new document disclosure when you're purchasing a condo. Am I right about this? Is anybody? Well, if you go to do that, I feel like there is. They're mentioning Hutchinson mentioned it at SAR. So that would be a thing for you to double check and make sure that when they have a client purchasing a condo, that they are compliant with 6026. So that relates.
Guys, this was incredible.
Yeah.
Good. Hey.
Yeah, thanks.
I've been in Cabo for 5 days. I'm a little foggy right now.
Oh, no.
Seasick and some leftover other stuff.
All right, Jen, what's the best way to reach out to you?
Our 916-833-3531 is my cell. I'm always available for you anytime, as you all know. So even if you need any inspections done, termite, home, roofs, or lateral pool, reach out to me. Jen.
Awesome. And you guys perform all inspections, right?
All inspections. Like I said, we have what now, 6 divisions?
Yeah.
So we have inspections, we have our construction division, we have our restoration division, we have our plans and permitting division, deck and balcony now.
We've diversified as an organization. We're backed out about a week and a half on termite and home inspections. We're not, and I love the message. It's JJ, right?
You got it.
JJ, we got that. Service your clients. We don't even want more realtors, to be honest with you. I really don't. We've got like this amazing group of agents that we've been working with for 25 years. And we do the very best we can to service the crap out of them. Solution oriented, right? And we have these relationships and we already know when we're working with agents that work with us, we're not asking stupid questions. get it done, fix it. We probably spend $15,000 to $25,000 a month in absorbing stuff on people's houses that we could hide behind, like most other companies, and we don't. We just send a guy out there to fix it. We just get it done. It's not worth it. So we want to service the heck out of our customers right now. We have diversified as an organization, solution, solution, solution. We don't even ask questions anymore. What's it going to take to make everyone happy here? That's what we do right now. So love that messaging. We're going to work on it. Thank you.
Thank you for having us. I brought hot cakes. So enjoy some back, please.
Yeah, so if you guys want sugar before you have sugar tonight with the kiddos, we got bun cakes out there.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you,
you guys
thank
for
you.
coming. So we have bun cakes, and then we will see you here next Thursday, and we will have JJ's coach. What's his name again, JJ?
Jeremiah.
Jeremiah will be here next Thursday. All right, team, have a great week.